Welcome to the Sheri K. Hoff Show at sherikhoff.com. Hello. This is Sheri, where we work on living joyfully in life and business. I have an incredible guest here with me today, and I'll tell you about him in a minute here. But first, I want you to stop by at sherikhoff.com. That's SHERIKAYEHOFF.com for some cool free gifts. So let's tell you about Adam Homey. He is a speaker, author, trainer, and consultant with nearly 20 years experience helping business creators like you win at the game of business and marketing so you can thrive from your intersection of your brilliance and your passion while making a difference for your community, market, and audience. Adam is the author of Groundhog Day is an Event, Not a Business Strategy, and a contributing author to Journeys to Success, the Millennial Edition, both international Amazon bestsellers. He has spoken on stages around the country for many years and is a sought-after expert on podcasting for entrepreneurs. As the creator of the Reach system, Adam helps you exponentially reach more profitable customers. Welcome, Adam. It's so great to have you here. How are you today?
We're going to have so much fun, and I'm really looking forward to this. So, Sheri, thank you so much for the opportunity to be of service to your community, and let's get to it.
Yes, let's just dive right in. So let's start with this. Some people believe launching and hosting a podcast is a lot of work, but you disagree. What do we need to know here?
Well, what we have discovered over the course of time is that there are a few very common objections that folks have to launching and hosting their podcast. And that's actually one of them, is they say that, oh, this is going to take so long. I'm going to have to do all this editing. This is where you want to look at where you're placing your efforts. Within our podcast Reach system, we have an entire segment known as the pre-editing process. This is the formula through which you use a combination of your show flow and your hosting skills to create a raw product that will require little to no editing at all in post-production. You can achieve this simply by being intentional and by structuring how you are managing the experience, including your guests' expectations.
I love that, managing your experience. And isn't that the truth in business in general? When you create that organization, it kind of creates that system where everything becomes simpler.
Yes. And here's an analogy we like to use. Think about Clint Eastwood as a director. And he's directed many, many films in addition to being an actor. He has a particular style about how he manages movies when he directs them. His goal is to film every scene in one take, and if necessary, 2 takes, but the goal is to get it in 1 take for 2 reasons. One of which is as far as he's concerned, if the scene is good, put it in the can and move on to the next one. The other is he wants everybody involved in production, whether it's the actors, the technicians, the producers, the other directors, what have you, to feel like there's constant forward movement. You're not getting stuck on one small thing. Every day, you're making incremental progress. So when you take this philosophy and apply it to how you manage your podcast and how you streamline your process and reduce your post-production editing to create a finalized product much simpler, much faster, that takes away most of the challenge that comes with this conception that, well, it takes a long time to do it and editing is hard. I'm also going to add that you can intentionally, and this is what we work with our clients to do, design your intake system so that all the information you need for your episode postings gets fed to you in large part by your guest. So when it comes to time to do your write-ups to post the episodes on your website, you already have most of the information. And it's a matter of copy pasting and maybe editing a few words here and there, but you don't have to do it from scratch. So you're not spending hours, you're spending minutes getting these episodes done, posted, and published after you finish the recording.
I like that. And I'm a fan of of making things as streamlined and organized as possible. So for public speakers, this is an especially tough time since there are very few stages available and a lot of competition for them. So how does hosting a podcast get you more bookings?
All right. Well, what we are seeing currently is the stages are beginning to open. However, the idea of virtual events is never going to go away, and in-person events, I don't think are ever going to be the same. I don't think that has as much to do with moving past the COVIDian era as it does with the discovery that people made that you can achieve so much more through virtual events, and people are much more likely to attend virtual events. The necessity of that being the only way you could attend an event raised awareness of the possibilities. Like I can attend a 3-day seminar from my home and I don't have to then lose 3 more days of travel, an entire week of opportunity cost, have my dietary plan messed up and deal with air travel and everything else and miss my cats. I can block off 5 hours a day for 3 days. A lot of people can do that. So on the one hand, it's opened up new opportunities for speaking. I'd also like to add that we're in a place right now where there are so many qualified, capable, and excellent podcast guests available. There are not nearly enough shows or available episodes to possibly accommodate them all. I know myself, I'm getting booked on a lot of shows like yours, and many of my bookings, the recording is 2 months away, not to mention when it's finally going to get published. There's just that much of a demand for podcast guests right now. So when you host a show, you have a unique opportunity right now to not only provide a public service by creating new avenues for podcast guests to get featured and share their brilliance and their passion, but also it allows you to put reciprocity up front. You're opening the relationship with a give. So you're saying, hi, nice to meet you. I happen to have a podcast. I'd like to have you on as my guest. Would you like to be my guest? Or would you consider checking out my show and being a guest? This is a great way to develop your influence. As one of the key factors of influence is a sense that you are a giver.
Oh, I 100% agree with that. And that's what I built my business on for the last 14 years.
Right.
One thing I think too about podcasting is, I started hosting telesummit. They were called telesummits. Now they're online interview series in 2007, 2008. And I did like 13 of them and they were huge and probably the reason why I'm still in business today, because, it was a fantastic list builder, but a ton of work. And there are a ton of summits out there with a lot of requirements. I mean, people, want you to mail a bazillion times. And so what I find with podcasting is it's just so much easier, freer. My podcast experts are thrilled to share media on their social media. And it's less pressure, it's more fun, and it's really more evergreen reach than a summit series. And I'm not bashing summit series. I know there's still some great ones out there, and I am a guest on lots of them. But if for listeners who have either been a guest on a summit or they have hosted a summit, I feel like podcasting is just like a natural extension of that ability to have a conversation with people. What do you think about that?
I think there's a lot to it. And I'm not down on the virtual summit model either. I participate in them and I've managed to get a lot of great benefits from participating in them when they're managed correctly and when they're managed well.
Exactly.
So I encourage folks when they see opportunities to be involved in virtual summits, this is one of those things where you want to say yes to it, unless there's some really pressing reason to say no. What is, I just have a real problem with that. What is the big deal about taking 30 minutes to do an interview and getting some additional reach, especially when it's a gimme? Now, when you see folks expect their prospective presenters, whether it's virtual summits or podcasts or what have you, to jump through a dozen flaming hoops just to get the opportunity or just to be on the show, then that's where you want to take another look at your process. What we do in Podcast Reach is we work with the host to structure a process that, as I like to say, hides the flaming hoops and disguises them as lollipops. So, it feels like you're actually in a candy store and you're looking around at all the treats and you're getting excited about picking out some chocolate bars and some lollipops and what have you, and going up to the counter and paying for them. And throughout the process of it, you're actually giving, like, let's move this back to podcasting. When you have a simple process for intaking your guests, whether they apply first or whether they schedule first and what information they need to submit to you, you're gaining the information you need up front. So here's one more thing, if I may. There's a debate, believe it or not, as to whether or not a guest wanting to be on a podcast should be expected to fill out an application form or an information form. There's a belief out there held by some that, well, I'm the guest. Really, you shouldn't ask me to do anything. Really? Mm-hmm. See, for one of my podcasts, the Business Creators Radio Show, the first step is to fill out an application. I have agencies and individuals send me long-winded pitches and one sheets and everything all the time, and I candidly don't care. I don't want to read them. What I want people to do is fill out my application, because my application is strategically structured to help the guest or their agent show me where that intersection of their brilliance and passion is. So off a casual glance, it pulls out for me what makes this guest so special, what makes them so wonderful, what makes them so magnetic, that my audience is going to love them, and they're going to be a valuable addition to my community, my network, and there may be somebody I can become friends with without me having to research, because candidly, hosts don't have time.
Mm-hmm. Right. And, I kind of look at those forms in a way, I kind of jokingly call it as my go away form. That yes. If you don't have the time, or the intentionality to fill out a form, and I do the process where people fill out the form and then they book on my calendar. They can't book on my calendar first, because then you're trying to track them down to get the information. And, and the other thing is that people can't even get to my form because, like you said, there's so many guests out there that want speaking opportunities that I like to know the person a little bit, like having maybe had a conversation over Facebook Messenger or, even a virtual cup of coffee, like something that gives me that feeling, is there going to be a synergy there, so that, people can't just book a time slot without having, had that kind of pre-screening conversation, whether it's over Messenger or if it's, over Zoom or over the phone or whatever. So yeah, I think thinking about why you have a process in place really makes that process do what it's supposed to do. We don't have processes without a purpose, right?
Right. Well, let's peel back the curtain. How am I here today? It's because actually you were a guest on one of my podcasts, and that's what opened the conversation. Going back to my point about how hosting a podcast helps get you booked on more podcasts. They see that you are a host. They see that you invest in your new media presence, and it's connotated because you took the time to launch and promote your own podcast, that you're good at it and will make a great guest for somebody else's show. Now, I went through your process to be here, and I thought it was a very good process. I saw the part where you and I interacted first, and we decided that it would be worth it for me to come and share a few tips with your audience. And I wanted to say one other thing. I am familiar with that phrase, go away form. So I'd like to address that and give your audience one or two quick little tips that will help them get the right people filling out that form quickly. Number one is ask for everything you need and not a thing that you don't.
Exactly.
Which means don't worry about asking 25 zinger questions or expecting them to do mathematical equations or Google interviews or anything like that, like they do for corporate positions at Google. Don't do that. Get the information you need to conduct that interview and promote that guest only. Get all of it, but only that. That's the first step. The second, and I've been told this is counterintuitive, and you know what it is? Some forms give people the ability to upload files, like upload your headshot, upload your one sheet. And they require that in order for the form to be submitted. Well, guess what? If, let's say that you and I were dialoguing through, let's say, Facebook Messenger, and we made the decision during that conversation that we were going to have me be a guest on your show. So you give me your application. I look at it and I say, oh, I have to upload my headshot. I have to upload my one sheet. Well, I'm sitting at the cigar shop, and this is one of those times I didn't bring my laptop, so all I have is my smartphone. I don't have my headshot. I don't have my one sheet. So I can't fill this out right now. You might lose me as a prospective guest because it might just fall off my radar screen. However, if the form allows me to just simply type stuff or copy paste stuff and then click submit, you know, it's pretty easy to get somebody's headshot. If they are at all serious about their media presence, they have at least one decent, recent, and relevant high resolution image that can be freely downloaded that you can use for the promotion. And if you've structured your form correctly, as I said, everything you need, not a thing you don't. You shouldn't need to see their one sheet. It should all be in the form. So you just remove those barriers of making them jump through unnecessary hoops and making them have to upload something that could require them to have access to data they don't immediately have. Take those two things away, and you're going to get a higher submission rate from the folks who you want to hear from.
Yeah, those are really, really, really good points. Thank you for sharing that. And, I wanted to peel back another layer when you said how we actually came across each other, because I want people to understand how marketing works. I actually had someone invite me to be a part of your Facebook group. And I said, sure. So I became part of the Facebook group. I recognized some people, some colleagues that I knew that were in that group. And I thought this seems like a cool place. And then I'm not sure if this was your assistant or you, asked if I would like to be, and this was all over Messenger, not even an email. So it was just really easy, asking if I wanted to be a guest. And I was already part of the group, having a good experience. And so, folks, that is how marketing works. And it was easy and natural and flowing, but it was strategic too. Like it was strategic to have that Facebook group, strategic to have your process. And so, it's not flying by the seat of your pants. Just like people know that.
Yeah. The thing is as you become more experienced with it, you can become very natural in your interview style, whether you're the host or the guest. It's one of those things where realistically, you're going to achieve it by doing it. There are only so many tutorials and so many primers. Like when I say that launching and hosting your business building podcast is a key tool for your networking, client attraction, and celebrity expert branding that helps you serve from your intersection of your brilliance and your passion, making a difference for your community, market, and audience. You think I just learned overnight how to string all my taglines together like that?
No, of course not.
That's a lot of practice there.
Yeah. I love it.
And not rehearsal practice, just out there doing it practice.
Right. So let's say that one of our listeners, or maybe hundreds of them or thousands, has no website, no list, no following, and they're just starting out with a new venture. Should they podcast first or wait until they're more established to begin?
Particularly if you don't have a lot of assets yet, start with podcasting, because you will open up conversations that lead to more closed deals. And particularly when you're talking about higher ticket items, that money often tends to move slower because it's a larger decision for somebody to make, which means they're going to require more know, more like, and more trust. They may need to go through a period of raising the funds. They may need to go through a process of finding their own way to recognizing how truly valuable the offer and the opportunity is to them. So the sooner you get those conversations open, the better. Also, if you are in a situation where you're entering a market where you're not yet recognized as an expert, your ability to host a show and credentialize others, and you credentialize them by featuring them on your show so that they will in turn refer to you as the expert you want to be, will get you that perception a lot faster.
So where is the best place for people to find you, Adam?
Okay, I encourage everybody to visit our website at www.thereachsystem.com. That's www.thereachsystem.com. There you'll find more information on the Reach philosophy, the podcast Reach System, and we also have both written and video resources to help you better understand how the system works and how it benefits you as an entrepreneur, creating a podcast as your key networking, client attraction, celebrity expert branding tool.
And I know that you have a free gift for us. So where can people find that?
Okay, so on that same website, go to the big purple button in the upper right-hand corner if you're on the desktop version, and you'll see a button that says free training. That links to www.thereachsystem.com/reach, which is an on-demand webinar. It's not one of those ones where the next session starts in 7 minutes, as in you sign up for it, you get it immediately, that type of thing. And it will take you through and show you all the benefits of launching and hosting your own show and how the Reach system can benefit you in doing so. I also invite everybody to visit my Facebook group. Come to www.everythingpodcasting.group. We have a great community in there. I know you're a member of it also. If you are a podcaster, if you're a podcast guest, or you're interested in either, it's the place to be to join a community that will support you in all of your endeavors.
Well, I really appreciate those resources and encourage people to check them out. So if someone asked you, why should I launch a podcast? What would your reason be?
That real simple question. Why should you launch a podcast? Okay, if I have 1 minute to tell a story or ask you to do a brief little Q&A with you, Sheri, I imagine you connect with a lot of people on, say, Facebook and LinkedIn. Is that a fair statement? You get a lot of friend requests and you get a lot of connection requests, and you probably accept a lot of them. Fair enough.
I do.
So, you know how sometimes you'll accept the request and then 2 minutes later, your direct messages will be filled with this long post. It's about 5 scrolls long and is like listening to the song that goes, me, 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 me. And would you like to schedule a demo?
Right.
Okay. Do you also get the ones where they say, hi, Sheri, how are you today?
Yeah.
And you may also get the ones say, oh, Sheri, I noticed you are a coach and just wanted to say that's awesome. What are you up to today?
Yeah.
Okay. So basically what you have here are 3 formulaic conversations that are inevitably structured, even if they are allegedly spontaneous, that lead to some sort of pitch. So what do you do with them, generally speaking?
Ignore them.
You red check them, which means they see you read it, but they didn't see you responded to it, so you red check them. All right. What about somebody who's opening to you is, hi, Sheri, glad we could connect. How about I'd like you to check out my free ebook and download it now, and then go to this other link and schedule a free strategy session. What happens there?
Ignore it.
Let me try one other one. Hi, Sheri. I represent the so-and-so podcast, and we're looking for guests. Would you be interested?
I probably would.
There you go.
Yep.
That's it. That's the reason why.
Because it really starts with the give. Yes. You're giving somebody something instead of, because even though a free gift is a give, people are too smart for, that. I'm not saying not to have free gifts, but I'm saying if you're cold contacting someone, you've never had a conversation before. All of those other examples that you gave are examples of what people probably shouldn't be doing.
Right. You can achieve what's known as the free strategy session process. Don't put it under that label and use a different modality. in all candor, when I interview people on my podcast, I am getting to know them as prospective clients. And in a few cases, maybe I'm thinking about becoming their client. It could go either way. But I do have an eye on that prospect in either direction as I'm having a conversation with them. I use that as my know, like, and trust tool. However, if I lead with, hey, would you like a free strategy session on how to launch your podcast? Well, what would you say? You already have one.
Mm-hmm.
That's not the correct conversation to have with you. So a better conversation would be to ask you, say, what's working well with your podcast? Where do you need support? What things would you like to improve? And maybe our offering is something that improves the podcast or moves it to the next level or something along those lines. But I don't have time to investigate 5,000 people and figure that out. But what I do have is the opportunity to open conversations that lead to closed deals, whether it's you and I do business, whether maybe you refer me, maybe you become my client, or vice versa. Maybe it just opens a conversation that somewhere down the road leads to a fruitful outcome. Maybe one of us speaks at the other's event. It could go a lot of different ways. But the point is, you use the podcast to open the conversations, allowing yourself to be open to the natural flow of events that could lead it to interesting places you haven't seen yet.
Beautifully said. And can you give your website, give it to us one more time?
Yes. The website for the Reach System is www.thereachsystem.com.
Thank you for that. And thank you, listeners. Have a great morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are in the world. And don't forget to stop by SheriKayhoff.com, SheriKayehOff.com for some free gifts. And I will see you soon. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Okay.